Thank you, Presiding Officer. It is truly an honour to be speaking today on the resignation of the First Minister, though it is a decision that I and I think the country are still needing to come to terms with. When the First Minister became the First Minister, I was 17 and I was in the audience at Eden Court where she came to speak to voters and activists about her plans for Scotland. And I'm going to come back to that moment later, but for now I'm going to reflect on that plan for Scotland, because that plan is what brought us the baby box. It's what brought us the Scottish Child Payment, the promise, all emblematic of the progressive values that the First Minister not only brought to the fore of the SNP, but brought so many into the SNP on the back of. Now, Stop the World, Scotland Wants to Get On is rightfully a very famous campaign line of Winnie Ewing's, but Nicola Sturgeon didn't wait for independence to bring it to life. She has been an ambassador for Scotland, and that will serve us well when her successors deliver independence. She's also always stayed true to herself, and as a young survivor of sexual assault, this is the First Minister I watched stand up, not just when it was easy or abstract, but when it was difficult, and say women deserve justice. And I think we can also look at how she's spent the last few weeks in her role, when people can't accuse her of it being about keeping her position next time or winning applause. She has tackled misogyny. She has delivered a very moving apology for historic adoption practices and, of course, spent time with the care-experienced young people of Scotland, to whom she was the first to say the state does not just owe them a home, we owe them our love. And at a time that we were so isolated, so separate, Nicola Sturgeon was trusted, invited and welcomed into millions of living rooms across the country. Now, the last time I was allowed to visit my mother was before the last lockdown, the lockdown that she caught COVID in. And we sat in her garden and she told me all about what Nicola had said to her that morning, talking about the First Minister of Scotland like this was someone from down the road who'd popped in for a coffee. And that's the kind of connection that Nicola Sturgeon has made with people the length and breadth of this country. Which brings me on to the second part of her legacy, because it's not just the policies that she put in place, it is the people she lifted as she climbed. The women that she mentored, inspired, empowered, the people that she told their passion, their voluntary work, their opinions are politically valuable. They'd been disenfranchised and she brought them in and gave them a voice, and they are all a part of her legacy. And that includes me, because that day in Eden Court I got to sit in the front row and ask the First Minister what she was going to do to make sure that more women and girls would enter politics in future. And it's a question that's been thoroughly answered since, but I remember her specific reply to me, because she said, "Well, Emma, I would like to see more young women, Emma, making their voice heard, Emma." And those words led me here, and I think that will be the same for other women in this place, both now and in the future, because I see little girls dressing up as Nicola Sturgeon for World Book Day. And I think the First Minister has very safely achieved the goal that she set out in her statement earlier. She has lifted, and girls across Scotland are rising to meet her. And as one of those girls, I am confident that she will continue to inspire, no matter what she does next. Now, Presiding Officer, this has been a personal contribution, but as I speak on behalf of the SNP today, I know that we all want to thank her for her service, her selflessness and her dignity as First Minister. And I'm going to end just by saying I've read quite a few books on the back of First Minister's recommendations, and I cannot wait to read the books that Nicola Sturgeon is going to write. Thank you.